Linda worked multiple jobs to raise me after my dad, Michael, passed away. But now my wife, Rachel, is pregnant and has demanded that I choose between her and my mom. A little background. My mother and father were both orphans. Michael died 2 weeks before I was born, and Linda didn't have a support system, so it was just the two of us. I never needed anything since Linda worked her entire life to provide me with the life I have now, and she didn't even have time to start over. She completed every small task imaginable to ensure that we didn't miss anything. She went hungry in order to provide for me. I had extremely nice clothes, but she had none. I observed Linda make sacrifices over and over, always with a smile. To be honest, I've always assumed she was an angel disguised as a human. She only yelled at me once when I was 16, and I watched her get sick while working. I wanted to help her obtain work, but she became enraged and told me that it wasn't my responsibility to care for her, and that it was up to her to care for me. She wanted me to achieve exceptionally good scores so I could get into the best universities, because that was the only way I'd be able to protect myself after she was gone. Even at university, she did not want me to work. I had to concentrate on my schoolwork, but Linda wanted me to volunteer so I could gain hands-on experience. I met Rachel there while we were helping. Rachel is a nice person, but she was never close to her own parents or siblings, and she has admired Linda ever since we met. We used to joke that she loved Linda more than she liked me. Deep down, I believe Rachel was hoping for a connection between a mother and daughter that she had never experienced with her own mother. When I finished my studies, I obtained a job and we moved in together, but Rachel was uncomfortable with my calling Linda every day. Remember, these were 10 to 15-minute calls, and she ultimately stopped them. 2 years later, I purchased a home for Linda, since we had never owned one. We moved from apartment to apartment, so it was the smallest sacrifice Linda ever made for me, and it was non-negotiable. That's where the problem began. First with Rachel, then with my girlfriend, Amanda. She wanted me to think about us first. I told her that my dream had always been to buy Linda a house since I was a child, and that it was something I had to do. But Rachel protested to Linda. Linda had no idea I had bought her a property as a surprise for her birthday. She was uneasy about getting the house because of Rachel, but she told me it wasn't necessary, because we could use it for ourselves after we married. I was infuriated. I told Linda that the house was hers, that she could do whatever she wanted with it, but that she needed to prioritize herself first. Our love endured. We married and eventually had our own home. Our lives were going well until 2 months ago, when Linda became ill. I wanted her to move in with us so I could care for her, but Rachel refused. I then decided to rent an apartment immediately next to our house with my own money so I could be close to her and care for her. But Rachel was not pleased with that idea either. Rachel and I don't have any children yet. We both work. I usually go home at 6 p.m., but because Linda is ailing, I go to see her and return around 8 p.m. On weekends, I see her for 1 or 2 hours and spend the rest of my time with Rachel. We go on dates. I always join her in her activities, even if she never joins mine. 2 days ago, Rachel told me that she'd given it some thought and believes I place too much value on Linda. She informed me that I had to choose between Linda and the life I hope to build with her. The fact is, I never made her feel this way. We both work, but I'm the one who cooks and pays someone to do the housekeeping. I make sure to do the dishes she enjoys. She never really knew what I like to eat because I never complained. I run her baths, give her massages and flowers, and write her poetry, which I hide somewhere in the house for her to discover. We even take a trip 1 weekend per month. I earn a lot more than she does, so I told her to keep her money for herself, and I cover all the expenses, including hers. I constantly try to listen to her and consider her point of view, and I believe I'm easygoing because I can adjust my thinking to fit hers. But I understand that she wants to completely dominate me, and the only subject on which I won't give her a choice is my relationship with Linda. So, I'm going to have a conversation with her and set some firm boundaries. If she doesn't accept them, we'll divorce. Update 1. Hello, everyone. I keep receiving emails requesting an update. I wanted to post sooner, but I didn't have enough time to complete it properly. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who left comments and DMs on my recent article. I tried to respond to everyone but couldn't. Nevertheless, I read all your messages before addressing Rachel. After some contemplation, I decided that no one in my life should ever dictate the relationship I have with Linda or the time I devote to her. So, I decided to respond to the ultimatum. First, I asked Rachel if there was another reason behind it, aside from what she already blamed me for. She said, "Nope." I then asked if there was anything she wanted to say but couldn't, and she replied that there was nothing, urging me to get to the point. So, I told her that I wanted a divorce. She remained frozen, shocked, I believe, just staring at me. I told her everything on my mind, including how our beliefs are too different. Linda was ill and I was going through one of the toughest times of my life. We administered numerous tests to her, and we still have no idea what she is suffering from. We don't even know her family's medical history because she was an orphan. It makes me nervous to think that I could suddenly find myself alone in the world. Yes, I am alone in this world, because all I needed in these trying times was her support. But if my own wife believes I should pay less attention to Linda, who is unwell and needs me more than ever, then it is time for us to part ways. When Rachel said nothing, I told her I was going to a hotel for the night and that we'd talk about our separation later. I gathered some of my belongings and left. The next day, when I went to see Linda, she sensed that something was wrong, but I wasn't going to tell her. I was leaving Rachel because she couldn't handle our relationship, especially with Linda being so sick. I never discuss my marriage troubles with Linda, so she is unaware of our problems. To be honest, she adores Rachel too much, and Rachel behaves as if she were her own mother. So I wasn't going to tell Linda what was really going on. Linda eventually told me that Rachel hadn't come by that day. Yes, Rachel, who wanted me to limit my contact with Linda, saw her every day, and I never asked her to do anything for Linda. Rachel even calls Linda Mom when she's sick. She used to visit Linda and have her take care of her. It used to bother me because I felt like I couldn't take care of Rachel, but she explained that a mother's motives are different. I told myself that it was her attempt to form a mother-daughter bond that she had never experienced, and I understood her. She had previously said that her own mother once told her she wasn't supposed to be born, that she was an accident, that she was nearly aborted, and that her mother regretted not doing so. Only a monster could say such things to a child, so I never objected when she demanded Linda's attention. After all, I received more than enough affection from Linda to share with anyone who wanted it. Later, Linda became a foster mother for children, something she had always done. Until 2 years ago, I adored every child I remained in contact with and regarded them as siblings. We even went on a week-long vacation every year with the kids, Linda, and Rachel. I typically take 2 months of vacation, 6 of which I devote to Rachel, but the 2 weeks I spend with Linda and the children have always been too much for Rachel. I was rambling, so when Linda told me she hadn't seen Rachel that day, I hurried back home in a panic. I found her in the bathroom, dressed with red eyes as if she'd been crying all along. Seeing her like that was awful. I helped her, but the proud woman crumbled in front of me, crying profusely. I'm not sure if it lasted an hour or 2, but she kept crying, then calmed down only to cry again. I remained silent. Eventually, she told me that deep down she never wanted me to be less involved in Linda's life. She was always jealous of our closeness, constantly envious of the attention Linda paid to the other children. Although she knew it wasn't sensible, she couldn't help but strive to be number one in Linda's heart. It became a competition, and when I wanted to care for Linda, Rachel didn't want me to. I was furious but said nothing. I even wondered if she was a psychopath. We were talking about a genuinely ill person, yet she was obsessed with her competition, even if it meant destroying my connection with Linda and forcing me toward divorce. She told me she was very jealous of me and would have preferred to be in my position. If given the choice, she would have chosen to be Linda's child over my wife, even though I was the love of her life and the only man she'd ever known. She also informed me that even if the world broke apart around me, I would stay stoic, living as if I needed no one, and that I gave everything to others without letting them reach me, a feat only Linda could achieve. I didn't know what else to say. I was so caught up in the idea of competition that I didn't immediately grasp the extent of her comments, but I listened until she finished. I put her to bed until she fell asleep, then went to sleep in another room. In the morning, she acted as if nothing had occurred. "I don't have to pity you," she said, and I assured her it was all out of love. She remained my wife, left for work, and I did the same, but I chose to stay at the hotel for the time being. During that time, I questioned how I could have let her behave that way. Deep down, I believe she was right. It was a protection mechanism I've had since infancy. I've never stayed in one place long enough to form lasting friendships. Every time we moved, from my 5th to my 15th year, over 50 times from apartment to apartment or hotel to hotel, I never unpacked or settled in because I always feared being forced out. I thought I acted differently with Rachel, but apparently not. I reasoned that perhaps we didn't need to go that far. What we needed was therapy rather than divorce. Update 2. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I didn't want to post again after my last update, but even though months have passed, I continue to receive support and questions about my life. I owe you at least one final update because your comments and DMs helped me during the toughest times. After Rachel's miscarriage, it was clear she was still pregnant. I had to care for her because she couldn't manage on her own. Despite my anger and contempt, I remembered that fragile things must be handled gently. I didn't want her to break. I couldn't abandon her in the most difficult time of her life. So, I fulfilled my duty as a husband despite everything. However, her mental state deteriorated. She began to believe she was still pregnant and started talking to herself. One night, she mistook me for her father and believed I was going to hurt her. I had to call the emergency room, and after an assessment, a psychiatrist urged me to have her admitted, which is exactly what I did. She spent 6 weeks there and was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. The physicians suspect she may also have a delusional condition from severe childhood mistreatment, but that was all they could tell me. She didn't want to see anyone, especially her relatives. Instead, she proposed that we communicate through letters. Every time I visited, I would drop off her letter and pick up mine the next day. It was surreal. I felt that in 2 months I got to know her better than in the previous 10 years. It reminded me of how kind she could be despite her imperfections. Rachel used to travel to help build schools, wells, and other projects for those living in poverty. She did more than offer money, she lent a hand. She was the kind of person who would help a foreigner who didn't speak the language, even if it meant missing her own train. Honestly, she was like a gold mine of resources and kindness. Even though we were well off, we loved taking public transportation to remember our humble beginnings and to simply enjoy life, because having each other was enough. We'd often go without money and dare each other to see how far we could go. Those were some of the best moments of our lives. We were so close and in love that we thought nothing could separate us. Since then, we tried to sort things out through letters, discussing various topics. I won't go into all the details. Rachel accepts responsibility for her faults, as do I. She apologized for how she treated me and acknowledged that divorce might be the only conceivable outcome. She needs to heal and improve herself, and while she admitted that she has a long way to go, which isn't fair to me, she also said that, given her situation, I shouldn't discuss divorce with her. She insisted that she must fight some battles alone. Otherwise, she'd never become her best self. She admitted that if she had the choice, she'd prefer to be in my position and would have chosen to be Linda's child over my wife, even though I've been the love of her life and the only man she's ever known. She also told me that even if the world crumbled around me, I would remain stoic, giving everything to others while never letting anyone reach me. After all, only Linda could ever do that for me. I hadn't fully let go of all the unpleasant emotions from before her illness, so ultimately, we decided it was best for both of us to continue communicating through letters. Rachel even asked if I was comfortable with her getting in touch with Linda. I told her it was up to them. Still, she wouldn't see Linda very often because I decided to take Linda to one of the top hospitals in the world, located in Europe. As for me, I've been in Germany for over a month now. Rachel and I are from France, and I'm learning to delegate tasks after resolving to work on my own treatment. I needed therapy, and your support helped me through intense, exhausting sessions. I'm now working remotely and return to France once a week to take care of work and continue with my therapy sessions, as I don't want to change therapists. I've finally managed to devote time solely to myself, which has been truly beneficial. One of my foster brothers even wanted to travel with us to Germany because he too works remotely, and he's been a big support. In short, I'm getting better about Linda. This has perhaps been the most difficult challenge of my life. I don't relish discussing it, yet I believe sharing it here will prepare me for future conversations. A few years ago, we moved from apartment to apartment and hotel room to hotel room. One of the hardest periods of our lives, when we were a single mother with a child. The state always provided us with a place to sleep, though it was unstable because we had to change locations every time. It was still preferable to sleeping outdoors. Linda was, and still is, a stunningly attractive woman. I witnessed her receive unwelcome sexual advances for an apartment right before my eyes. I'm not sure what she went through with my father, but she refused to be with anyone else because she believes that death does not end a meaningful relationship. There was an association that used to look after us by providing us a place to stay every night. One of the men in charge asked us to stay in his apartment while they found us a better place, since we were living in an unsanitary motel. Linda didn't want to go, but I persuaded her because the prospect of a warm, good bed was irresistible. However, after dinner at his house, he began making moves on Linda. She quickly put a stop to it, and he told us it was either that or leave, so we left. When we returned to the hotel, our room was already occupied. With no options left that day, we decided to sleep outside. Trigger warning, Gang RP. We were startled while sleeping by a gang of men attempting to roleplay with Linda. They attacked me so viciously that I was too frightened to help Linda immediately. Several other men, apparently returning from a party, heard the screams and rushed to our aid, causing the attackers to flee. I always maintained that Linda was almost like our pet, and eventually, I began to believe it. I finally admitted that Linda had become our pet before my eyes, and I was powerless to stop it. If we had thrown our arms around each other and cried together that day, things might have been different. But she simply took my arm and told me that the spot wasn't safe, and that we needed to find a safer place. We never spoke of that day again. Life went on. Over time, Linda worked hard to ensure my success. She invested all of her life's earnings into my project, and I now owe her the firm I founded. I often wonder how she endured the hell she went through. Since I accepted that she was our pet, all I wanted to do was tell her about it. But it wasn't about me. It was about her. She went through the hardest times. I'd like to talk to her about it someday, but I'm not sure what good that would do after so many years. That's all as of today. Linda's condition is improving, and the future appears brighter than it did a few months ago. This will be my final post to everyone who supported me during these difficult times. I thank you from the bottom of my heart and wish you the best in your lives. May what you have left be better than what you have already lived. Thank you for reading, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories.